Welcome back to another exciting episode of Cyber Defense TV. I'm your host, Gary Malevsky, and the publisher of Cyber Defense Magazine. Sitting in my hot seat today is one of my very special guests, Andrew Peterson, who is the CEO of an award-winning cybersecurity company, Signal Sciences. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Gary.
So tell us what you do and how you do it, and why are you an innovator?
So we have a next-generation web application firewall. This is a space that's been around for a very long time, but it's a hotter market than it's ever been, specifically because of all the innovation that's happened around how we do web software development now, right? So you hear about things like cloud, you hear about things like DevOps. This is really where we come from. We were on that side of the house building both web properties, but then also building how to secure those web properties. So we have a cloud native story that makes it so that those 25 years of experience that these other competitors have had is it's almost irrelevant now to the type of agile development that's happening in new shops. That's what we protect. That's our kind of core bread and butter.
Can anyone afford your WAF, your web app firewall? You know how many acronyms I've learned today?
There's so many.
There's a new one every day.
Thank you, Gardner.
Last year we were soaring, and now we're WAFing together. We got so many acronyms.
Yep.
Someone's like 2FA. Just say multi-factor authentication. Okay, so here we are. We've got a web app.
Yep.
Let's say I'm using WordPress.
Sure.
Right? It's the most popular web environment. You get MySQL and you got PHP, and you're loaded with holes, and you're updating all your plugins every day.
Sounds familiar.
You have the most vulnerable environment in the world. And I've decided to maybe try to become a successful e-commerce company, or I'm trying to launch some new product, and it gets success, and now you're into hundreds of thousands of buyers every week or whatever. Don't you think the cyber criminals are going after that?
100%.
And how can I afford your WAF to stop it, and how does it work?
Yeah, so we have different tiers for people being able to use the product, and it really maps back to the needs of the company at the time, right? So we've tried to make this so that if you have an entry-level need, you're trying to really get protection, you want to have something to run, but you don't want to break the bank, I guess, essentially. You can get that with us. If you're a much more sophisticated company, you run a big bank, you run any type of large enterprise. Guess what? You're running websites, you're running mobile applications. That's the way you're interacting with your customers. You also need the most sophisticated type of protection in the market. We can provide it for either folk.
So are you doing something different in the higher end enterprise version? So for example, if Salesforce were to buy your WAF, your web app firewall, would that be a different version than a small business?
Yeah, so they're looking for things where they can get multi-platform coverage, right? So instead of being able to get protection over just the core website that they might be running, they have a whole set of, they probably literally have thousands of websites that they're trying to get coverage over in the first place. They also have API systems, they have mobile applications, they have microservices now that they're running that they're probably shipping all the time. So there's a volume perspective that relates to the price that we do, but then there's also a functional component of it as well, which is, hey, we need protection over sort of more advanced types of attacks that we're seeing because we're a bigger target than other folks.
Anything on DDoS, by the way?
We do, yeah.
Because that's driving people crazy.
Well, so there's two.
You can buy DDoS for a couple $100 right now.
And there's two types of DDoS. There's a network layer DDoS where people are just kind of pounding you with just packets, right, overall. There's also application DDoS, which is we're finding a very specific type of, let's say a picture upload part of your website, and they're just pounding that with tons of that because it requires a lot of memory for the website to run. It can take a website down by just attacking that one specific part of the application. So we provide protection over both sides of that.
Now, there's been all these things. MITRE has the CVE program. There's common weakness and exposure and common vulnerability and exposure. There's all these different programs. There's OWASP. The list goes on. There's ATT&CK, right, which is hot.
Yep.
The common methodologies of exploitation. Are you pulling all that in? And are you doing a WAF that's the next gen?
Well, so what's interesting? So, for example, they just launched a new API security OWASP Top 10. But the sort of funny thing is, there's not a whole lot of difference between the API security OWASP Top 10 and the normal website security OWASP Top 10. So the reality of the types of attacks that have happened on that surface it's really the same across everything, right? And so it's more about how do you actually automate the actual response to those things and automate the detection to those. That is the big differentiator. So instead of having somebody that's sitting behind, computer screen looking at all the alerts of the different regexes that are, hitting, okay, this was an attack, this was an attack, this was an attack. We've really invested a lot in building automation using things like, machine learning to be able to identify those things so that you don't have to have a person behind looking at everything that's coming through.
Do you have a proof of value that I can get tomorrow? Is there a demo? How can I get going with it?
Free demos. Anybody can come through. You can actually do free POCs with us as well.
Pause. free POCs. Website is?
Signalsciences.com.
Signalsciences.com. Okay, let's get back. Free POCs. That's what I like to hear.
I mean, we want to get people with hands on the tech. When people are getting their hands on our technology, we're winning against any competition 80% of the time right now.
That's fantastic.
It's because they can see the difference, right? And again, in a space that web application firewall, it's been around for so long, so most people are sort of, oh, well, I've seen all of this. Come to us. We'll show you something new.
Last question. You're in my hot seat, but I want to make it a hotter question. But where are you running? Are you running in your cloud in front of mine? Are you running where I have to redirect traffic, or am I changing my DNS? Or can I install you in, let's say, my WordPress or whatever environment I'm on?
I mean, it's a great setup, right? Because this is one of our big differentiators, is that we give you lots of different options. The reality is the days where the security team can go and tell the application team and sort of dictate to them how their infrastructure needs to look to use their security, control, those days are over. The app team is just going to say like, hey, good luck. We're not installing that thing. It doesn't work with our app stack, right? So for us, this is a huge lesson learned to say, we need to actually give them a menu of options where they can choose what works best for them. So you can install with DNS, you can use a reverse proxy, you can install in containers, you can install in Istio even now.
Wait, another new acronym. What's that?
Istio it's a type of service mesh. So it's Istio and Envoy are two different sort of service mesh offerings that people have. But the reality is people need choice because the app teams don't want to be beholden to any specific type of architecture either today, or guess what? That might be changing many times in the future. Same with the specific type of cloud that they're using or the specific type of CDN that they might be using. Those are things that they're changing all the time. So you got to have something that allows them to have flexibility where the security teams can say, hey, I need this security control, and I don't need to have to make that decision based on where that technology can actually get installed and the type of infrastructure we have.
I wanted that to be my last question, but we got to keep going.
Okay.
Here's a tough one.
Yep.
I asked if I could afford you. Are you willing to share pricing? I mean, after my free demo, what do I got to do, and what do I got to pay?
Yeah, so the pricing is it's pretty variable depending on both the size of the company, but then it's actually not.
Can an SMB afford you, or do you do an MSSP deal or something?
They can, yeah. So it's mostly through the actual volume of requests that's going to your website itself.
Okay.
So if you have a smaller website in terms of the total request volume that you're getting, the price is going to be a lot lower.
I'm not going to name numbers, but what if you have 5 million a month hits and growing? Can we afford you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to do the free demo.
All right.
Easy. And then we're going to do a report on it. So you don't have to do anything special for us, but you're going to go to signalsciences.com, get your free demo while I get mine.
Absolutely.
And check us out. This was a great hot seat interview.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Welcome. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
CyberdefenseTV.com. Learn more about Signal Sciences at www.cyberdefensetv.com. Come back next time for another exciting episode, and we will see you online.